So our brother Jesse is asking from Romans 5:13 and also Romans 2:14 and 15. Here Paul was talking about the law, and he said, for until the law sin was in the world, but sin is not viewed when there is no law. And also in Romans 2, he said, for when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the mean while accusing or else excusing one another. And here Jesse had 3 questions, so if you can write down, this will be good. The first question is, if the sin was not counted to the people of Israel only before the law, or for all the human beings, not only for Israel? So again the question, if the sin before the law was not counted for the people of Israel only, or for all the people of the world? The second question, when he said they are law for themselves, if again Israel and all the nations before the given law were law for themselves? Again, the second question, it's almost the same way. So when he said they were law for themselves, this means that Israel and the other nations before the law given, they had the law of God in their hearts. And the third question, for this reason, all the sins before the law were not counted, either for Israel or for all the nations at this time. So the question is based on the sin before and after the law. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Abuna and Jesse. This is the answer to the question is twofold, and I'm going to put 2 terms up on the screen. We talk about the knowledge of God. How do we know God? And the answer to how we know there is a God, first and foremost, starts out, regardless of if you're Israelite or Hebrew or Jew, or even if you are Christian, the first way that a person would know that there is a God, apart from baptism or apart from the Word, is to look at nature and to consider the grandeur and to consider the immensity, and to understand that we as human beings arrived on this planet somehow. And so the natural law of God says that by observing nature, you can know that there is something greater than yourself that puts everything that there is into motion. We are not able on our own to create life in any way, not even a blade of grass. We refer to the concept of natural law being that which binds the human conscience. The American President Thomas Jefferson, for instance, wrote a great deal about the natural law that binds the conscience of men. For instance, it is instinctual to understand that killing somebody is not right. It is instinctual that certain acts that man might do are otherwise contraindicated by the natural law. So that law begins actually in the far reaches of the Garden of Eden. God revealed a law, if you will, by telling Adam and Eve to stay away from the tree, the very tree that they ate from. And he revealed this while there was yet perfection. And so it was understood as a directive of God, and of course, Adam and Eve violated that law, and the first thing that happened to them was that their conscience was bound. That is to say, they became aware that they were naked, and they knew immediately what they had done. That natural knowledge of God is evident to all, whether they're faithful to God or whether they're not. In divine revelation, which is what I refer to as either revealed law or divine revelation, God then, through that revelation, which is His Word, reveals His law vis-a-vis the Ten Commandments. Or if you look in the first 5 books of the Bible, you can see, especially in Leviticus and books like that, you see the Ten Commandments and you see God's directives. For the faithful, when that Mosaic law was brought into place, prior to that, the natural law of God was in place. And the issue here is that in the period when there was no Mosaic law, the commands of God could still be broken. That is to say, natural law could be violated. And the evidence of that was death. Adam and Eve died. People who didn't believe in God died because, we hear from the Scriptures that the wages of sin is death. There wasn't a specific law given because God had not yet brought to us His Mosaic law. But when that Mosaic law came into place, now there were specific laws that God did not want violated, whether it was dietary laws, whether it was ceremonial laws, whether it was laws that He had put into place for the good of the secular world. Those laws that were violated prior were not held against man by God, other than in the violation of that natural knowledge of God, or that natural law that was that's imprinted on the hearts and minds of people. The evidence that the law still was violated and that there was still a consequence is the fact that death continued to occur. So, going back to verse 13 of Romans 5, for before the law was given, sin was in the world. We have to remember that. Sin was in the world. But sin is not taken into account where there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from the time of Adam to the time of Moses, even over those who did not sin by breaking a command, that's revealed law, as did Adam, who God said, stay off the tree, don't eat it, who was a pattern of the one to come. So it's an understanding of what is that natural knowledge of God that by virtue of the fact that we're humans was violated, and the result of that was death. And then when God instituted what we refer to as the divine revelation of His law, which is what is considered Mosaic law. So the answer to question number 1, sin was counted against Israel, and sin was counted against all humans because all humans die. And death is a result of the violation of either the law of God being violated, that is the revealed law, and by non-believers or pagans because they violate the natural laws of God that are written into their hearts. Now, remember that the only thing that damns is unbelief in God. So we don't want to say that just because someone violated the 8th commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness, that means they're automatically damned to hell. In fact, in this earthly life, they will experience death, However, God saves us by grace through faith in Jesus or in the promise of the Messiah, which is what the faithful Jews in the Old Testament did. The natural knowledge of God without the revealed knowledge of God does lend itself for people becoming a law unto themselves. In fact, that's what all nations do. I mean, even the most unorganized, remote peoples everywhere have certain laws, rules, regulations, mores, and values that would be considered laws. Now, the third question from the Romans, the earlier Romans verse, the answer is that while specific sin in relationship to the revealed law is not held against them, the violation of the natural law is in that the result of violating the law, the natural knowledge of God, or the natural law, is that death occurs. So we're talking about a period of time prior to when God gave the Mosaic law. There was still a law, but it was that natural knowledge, that natural law. And because that wasn't even kept perfectly, death is the occurrence as a result. All of this, then, in the person of Christ, dying for the sins of the world, covers those who are faithful, who cry out to the Lord in mercy, and yet is not extended to those who were unbelievers. I know that's a long answer. I hope, Jesse, that covers the question. It pivots on the natural of God, just as one could say that you can look at nature and the created world and know that there is something greater than yourself that has created it, but you do not learn from looking at a tree or looking at the ocean or looking at a mountain that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Only through revealed revelation, that is the Scriptures, can you come to understand